Christian's departure from Red Bull sent shockwaves throughout the entire F1 world, but it seems like there were a couple of individuals who expected this outcome. Zak Brown has opened up on this entire Red Bull saga, and the team boss of McLaren made sure to add salt to the wound of her future. But did Brown become a more unlikable figure with his latest comment? And how will the fans view him after commenting on such sensitive matters about his colleague, one that led Red Bull for 20 years? The rivalry between Red Bull and McLaren has grown over the past couple of years to the extent of them directly fighting for the drivers' and constructors' championships. This ignited a lot of negative comments, such as Brown saying that he doesn't view her as a friend, and that's natural for this sport. However, his latest comments about Christian being sacked by Red Bull might have crossed the line. Even though the internal investigation in Red Bull burned down some bridges, not many believed it would lead to her being sacked from the Austrian team. Of course, it's affected every individual in Red Bull because after the departure of Newey, Wheatley, and Cortina, the team is bleeding from every artery possible. And the main culprit for this has been dubbed to be her. Still, the fact that the court brought a decision in which he was released from all accusations led us to the conclusion that everything would continue in the same fashion in Red Bull. All they had to do was reconstruct from the inside. The drama in Red Bull, however, didn't stop. And according to Zak Brown, the sacking of her was only to be expected as the most logical solution to this entire saga. Elaborating further on this and addressing the entire situation between Red Bull and her, Brown went on to say, "Maybe the timing was a bit surprising, but not the result. I think there's been a lot of drama. There's been a lot of drama there the last couple of years, and it doesn't seem like the drama has been calming down, maybe beginning to get worse. So, I'm not surprised any time in the middle of the season. But we're head down on our championship. We've got Max still knocking on the door, so we've got to pay attention to that. But yeah, a tremendous amount of success that they've had with her. I mean, this is Zak Brown we're talking about. He handpicks every word he says, and he's very famous for that, which is why he's one of the most infamous figures in the Formula One world. When he talks about something, he knows what he's going to cause: drama and more controversy among his colleagues. But the fact that he's speaking negatively about her, the man that he has gone through a lot with in the past couple of years, is just another grain of salt to the wound that she is currently suffering from. Let's not forget that Zak Brown is the man who went on to write a public letter to Ben Sulayem regarding the penalty of Red Bull for breaching the sporting regulations. There's no doubt in anyone's mind that Brown doesn't have sympathy for her. And in this cruel world, perhaps that's the mentality you need to have if you're going to survive as a team principal. Be that as it may, Brown has taken the audacity to talk about what's next for her career in Formula One. And when talking about it, he said, "I think given his age and his history in motor racing, I'd be surprised if he didn't show up somewhere in motor racing. But I don't know his other interests, whether he wants to go run a football team or what have you. So we'll see." And the entire situation from Zak Brown is being narrated from a very interesting point of view. We do know for a fact that Max Verstappen could join Mercedes very soon. And that's not really good news for McLaren. If the Woking Bay squad sees this scenario become a reality, then the duo of Piastri and Norris will receive a true beast as their opponent. Not that they didn't have it now with Verstappen and Red Bull, but it's going to be different in the newly regulated era. That's why Zak Brown wants to be a very close spectator to the entire Max to Mercedes story. And addressing it to a greater extent, he said, "Yeah, but I couldn't be happier with the lineup I have right now with Oscar and Lando. So, I'm sort of being an interested spectator. I'm very happy with my driver lineup, so I don't really kind of spend any time on anything other than what pops up on my phone. As of now, one thing is for certain. Red Bull is not on the level of McLaren, and Zak Brown knows that better than anyone else." A huge factor for this development of events was the arrival of Rob Marshall in McLaren back in 2023. And with the entire restructuring of the team, the Woking Bay squad saw themselves propelled to the top extremely quickly under the same regulated era from 2022. It must not be easy for all of the Red Bull fans to see the veterans that helped build their team from scratch leave and go to another squad to make them even more successful. The same can be said for Jonathan Wheatley. Just look at how Sauber was transformed in a matter of 1 year. They're now fighting in the midfield after being in the back for so long. All of this can be traced to Christian Her and the negative impact he's had in the internal circle of Red Bull. It's not just Zak Brown who spoke in such a manner about her. Let's not forget what Jos, the father of Max, had to say about what would happen to Red Bull if Her were to continue leading the team. Everything would fall apart, and whether we like Jos or not, he was in the right. The entire squad crumbled down. So, the sacking with immediate effect might have been the best solution for Red Bull after all. This is something that caught the old friend of Her and the former FIA boss, Bernie Ecclestone, by surprise, as he went on to say, "All I know is the message the whole world has got, which is he's been fired effective immediately. It's the effective immediately that I don't understand. Why would they ask him to leave with immediate effect? It's like he's murdered somebody. You can understand if you're going to fire somebody, then you'd have a chat before, and you'd come out with something like, 'We've agreed to part company' or something.